morning and welcome to Calm Talk. My name is Peggy McGill and I am your host this morning. Today we are discussing organizational identity and branding, specifically the differences between organizational identity and personal identity and how they intersect. My two guests with me in the studio today are Mr. Hamilton McGill, who is a local area network technician for hospice and palliative care in the Carolinas, and Pete Davis, Senior Director of Information Systems for Hospice and Palliative Care of the Carolinas. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Well, nice to meet you.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and get started. I think one of the reasons that I chose you, that I found fascinating, is the hospice organization. And I'm curious what you feel is the identity of the organization, and what do you feel your organization does well in conveying this identity? And Mr. Davis, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay. I think our organization gets its identity from multiple sources. The fact that we are a hospice organization carries a certain recognition with it by association. For the most part, that's a good thing. Hospice is a mission-driven organization. But in the same breath, people think that we are a national organization. In fact, we are not. We are a regional organization, not associated with any national movement. But it's still, it's a feel-good topic of conversation. So we do definitely get our identity partially from that association. But then also, we associate very much as a local not-for-profit organization. So we've developed quite a base in this local community as a company that does good things. And so our identity is largely a company that does good things for the community, is a nice place to work.
Let me actually just shift a little bit. Mr. McGill, my question to you, how is your identity influenced in working for this organization? You and I have spoken off the air of the positive aspects of that. If you could share some of those with our listeners.
Well, I take a lot of pride in working for, like I said, in general, a healthcare organization, but more specifically this type of organization that deals more with end-of-life care. And this is an area that's not as well served by more mainstream, the hospitalization end of healthcare. And I feel like we do a more specialized job, and we do it better, I feel like, than those types of organizations anyway. And we do worry more about the patient-specific needs than necessarily making a profit. And so, like I said, just in general, I feel a good sense of that I'm helping someone. I'm the back end of support, helping the nurses who are out in the field and the chaplains and the social workers who are there.
And if you could elaborate on that just a moment, you're not a direct hands-on worker. You're the actual person keeping the network
Support.
up and running so that the doctors and the nurses can connect and can access patient records while they're out at a site. Is that correct?
Yeah, and we take that very seriously. We try to help make, especially the nurses that are giving direct care to the patients, and the CNAs also help make them more efficient.
Excellent.
With what they can do, so they can be out there more often, not have equipment breakdowns, and also giving them new technology where they can go out and, say, use a smartphone and be able to take pictures of insurance documents and things like that they didn't have the opportunity to do when I first came to this organization. And so it makes them a lot more efficient.
And this question is for the both of you. We've discussed how you feel about your organization and what you think your organization represents. Do you feel your organization or your employer encroaches on your personal identity in any way? And Mr. Davis, we'll start with you.
I wouldn't use the word encroaches. It sounds a little strong. I would say my personal identity is probably influenced by. At the same time, I'd like to think that my identity influences some of the organization as well. I certainly would like to think I bring a level of my own identity and my values to our department, for sure. I certainly feel good, and I always have done. It's one of the reasons I stay with this organization. I feel good about what I do every day. As Mr. McGill said, enabling and supporting others to do work such as they do in hospice is a pretty powerful thing. I think it's sometimes hard for us in our positions behind the scenes to realize that value because we don't actually lay hands on patients. But I would say It's more of a marriage for me. I found a place where I'm comfortable that fits in with my values, and we share a lot of core values, and therefore it's more of a marriage, I would say, than either of us really encroaching too much.
Thank you. Mr. McGill, same question to you. Do you feel the employer encroaches on your personal identity?
No, actually I have a similar type of answer that I hope I bring certain values to the equation of working here, communication and teamwork and things like that, especially that I feel are valued here. So I feel like it's more hand-in-hand type of relationship than either dominating the other.
I think that's refreshing hearing you both speak, that you hope you're bringing something to the organization rather than the organization taking anything from you. You really are glad you're contributing to it. Well, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. And the last question, in the interest of full disclosure, Mr. McGill, could you discuss our relationship or disclose what our relationship is?
Yes, we happen to be married to each other.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. Gentlemen, you've been wonderful, and thank you for your answers, and thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I'll make you feel like you